House Democratic leaders are facing a delicate balancing act now that the Mueller report is public. They need to charge ahead with their many investigations into President Trump, with some quickly using it to push for impeachment. Yet at the same time, they need to promote issues like health care, criminal justice, and middle-class economic prosperity with their eyes toward 2020. Joining me now is Congresswoman Karen Bass, Democrat of California. She is a member of the Judiciary Committee and the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Congresswoman Bass, the Judiciary Committee in which you're a member of, has issued subpoenas. If the Attorney General fights those subpoenas, both for his own appearance and for a unredacted view of the entire Mueller report and supporting evidence, will your committee aggressively fight to make sure that those subpoenas are honored?
Oh, absolutely. We most certainly will. And so it might wind up that we go to court. But we're going to do everything we can because we need all of the information. We need the unredacted report. We need the underlying evidence. And then it's not just judiciary. You know, there's the Intelligence Committee, there's the Government Reform Committee, there's Financial Services. So although this nightmare has gone on for 2 years and it seems like it's just lasted for so long, as you said a few minutes ago, we've only received the report 48 hours ago. So we really, we've achieved a milestone in getting the report, but we actually have a long way to go.
Now, we've heard from some of the presidential candidates. Senator Elizabeth Warren said it's time for impeachment. As you said, the report has only been released, the redacted report, 48 hours ago. Has the Congressional Black Caucus and others, you chair the caucus quite effectively, have they taken a position on impeachment? Because there are some concerned that we need to also deal with the issues going into 2020, like health care, criminal justice reform. What is the early feeling that you're getting from some of your colleagues?
Well, it's definitely people have different views. But let me just say in regard to the senator's suggestion, I think it would be very, very helpful if the senator could identify some actual senators that would be interested in the second part of impeachment, because you know that we impeach in the House, but you also know that he would have to be tried and convicted in the Senate. And so what we need is senators that would be willing to go along with that. In terms of the Congressional Black Caucus, we do have members of the caucus who have been very outspoken about impeachment. We're 55 members strong, so you have a lot of different perspectives. But I think that in total, we really have a long way to go in this process. And so the next step in the process, in addition to issuing subpoenas, is a number of hearings that need to happen. You know, we have Barr, we need Mueller, we need McCann. We have a number of hearings that need to happen along the way.
When we look at this, clearly, there are those of us that have our views on President Trump, including yours truly. But we're also looking at the presidency. We're looking at the office of the chief executive of this country, leader of the free world. And we're hearing people saying he had knowledge that I lied and did nothing about it, lied to the special counsel, that he told the White House counsel to get rid of a special counsel or to fire him in some way. I mean, are we seeing the erosion of the standard of the presidency of the United States?
Oh, I think he has had really horrible influence and impact on the institution of the presidency. And we have to remember, it's not just in the United States, it's the way the entire world looks at us now. We've always been seen as the rock of the planet. You know, everything is always stable and consistent in the United States. And now people look at us and say, well, I'm not so sure. It just shows the importance of the election in 2020, that we have the right person elected so that we can essentially repair the presidency as an institution. It has been damaged.
When you look at that and you say the right person to run in 2020, in many ways what we're looking at is whoever the Democratic candidate or opposition candidate is, assuming it's President Trump, they're not only talking about removing an incumbent, they're talking about restoring a certain level to the presidency if, in fact, it is the feeling of most American voters that the presidency has, in many ways, been harmed?
Well, the presidency has been harmed, and then the Republican Party, in my opinion, has been seized by a group of extremists. And so not just do we need the presidency back, until the Republicans get their party back, we need the Senate and we need the House. We have to maintain full control. And as you mentioned a few minutes ago, we have a lot of things on our agenda. The health care reform, criminal justice reform, the education system, voting rights. We have a long agenda. And I'm proud to say that in the first 100 days of Democrats being in charge of the House, in spite of everything that we're doing, we have been passing a proactive agenda as well.
Now, with that agenda, and certainly we've laid it out here tonight, and you know I've dedicated my life to a lot of those issues.
I do.
When we look at this agenda and we look at the overall problem with this investigation, we're talking about whether an adversary to the United States interfered with an election, with voting. So in many ways, as much as you push the agenda, you have to protect the voters in order to have them be able to elect the people to handle that agenda. So they're really not separate. I think what's lost in a lot of the punditry is we are talking about an enemy of the country that clearly this report says interfered with the election.
And then I think what's even sadder is that the Republicans really don't seem to be concerned about it at all. If they were, we would have been able to pass resources to make sure that our elections were strong. But Rev, you're an organizer, and you know, and we proved it in the November election, even with interference, even with voter suppression, if we organize, if we mobilize, we turn out and we win. We flip the House, 40 seats, over 300 state seats, so all is not lost.
The fact of the matter is that a lot of people are saying, with all this disarray, will turn voters off. I think whether it's Republican or Democrat, it should turn them on to save the sanctity of voting in this country and those that would uphold what this country should be standing for.
I agree, and I think that's exactly what happened in November, and I think it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we sustain the level of activity, the level of activism that we saw a few months ago. We have to keep that up, because one of the possible outcomes of this whole situation right now, we know we have a president who essentially has no regard for the rule of law, and so if things are dragged out for months and months and months and go through the courts, there's a possibility that we will run right into the election next year. So we have to learn how to walk and chew gum at the same time.
All right. Thank you very much, Congresswoman Karen Bass.